Santa Claus is going high tech, but before your kids unwrap the latest gadgets for Christmas, there's some things that parents need to know. And our friend Steve Smith from A Wired Family is with us this morning with his expert advice. Thank you so much
Thanks, John.
For coming in. Now, these electronic devices, we worry about them because a lot of them are an entry to the internet. And we don't have to think about whether the internet can be negative for our children. In a lot of cases, the data just proves that out.
The data does prove it out, and as we were talking earlier, kind of the entree for a lot of families, particularly with younger children, is a Kindle Fire. And many parents think that the Kindle Fire is this very, benign device. But the reality is that Kindle Fire can do everything, for the most part, that an Android device can or an iOS device can.
Right.
And when I get calls from parents, particularly about children that are under the age of maybe 15, it's usually the Kindle Fire that causes the problem.
Yeah, and in addition, it has room for a memory card and that sort of thing, and hacks can go on the memory cards that allow them to do things that you never anticipated that device could do.
That's absolutely right.
What do you think is the biggest threat?
The biggest threat is parents not really understanding, number one, the device, and number two, kind of the laws behind that device. And let me say this. So in 1998, there was the COPPA Act, which was developed by the Federal Trade Commission. And it basically said that children under the age of 13, right, should not be using apps. Now, back in 1998, there weren't apps. It's been updated to that point because free apps, their private information is constantly being taken. But 40% of children under the age of 13 are using those very apps. So think about that, 40% of them.
So what do we as parents, what can we do if we plan on giving our kid a tablet or some kind of device like that? What can we do to try to protect them from themselves, essentially?
Yeah, so there are four things I always tell parents. And number one, it sounds kind of silly, but you've got to talk to your kids about why do they want a device? What are the apps that they're going to want to use? What are their friends doing with that device? Yeah. Understand the device and the apps better than those kids, and then sign a contract. That's number one. Number two, and 75% of parents do not do this, you have to make sure that kid or young man or young woman does not use that app in their bedroom, certainly at the kitchen table. The majority of issues that we find take place in a child's bedroom, right?
Where they have some privacy.
Where they have privacy. And incidentally, 48% of kids under the age of 13 have been in some type of potentially dangerous conversation with someone that's 18 or older. So that's a big reason why they shouldn't be on those devices in their bedrooms. Then you have to control what I call the password to the iOS or the Google Play Store, and then understand the screen time restrictions, right? And for that, you need a passcode. So you need a passcode that the children can't change at. And the fourth is making sure you use some type of parental control. In some cases, with some kids, the screen time program on an iOS device is worthwhile. But in many cases, you have to go a step further by going with something like Circle or with Bark.
And I think that I'll add a step right here. You have to have some backbone too. If they violate the rules, you have to be willing to take it away.
Amen. You absolutely have to be able to do that. And incidentally, if I can say this, I'm really an Apple guy more than I am an Android guy. But if you're going to buy your child a device, I would say go with an Android device because you have much more parental control over an Android device than you do with an iOS device.
Where would you suggest that people go if they want more information?
Please, you can go to my website, awiredfamily.org, commonsensemedia.org. Are probably the two that I'm going to recommend to you today.
All right, sounds good. Steve, thanks so much.
Thanks, John, so much. You too. Take care.
I'm digging the time.
I got the time, man. I got the time.